Hello, beautiful viewers. Welcome back to Resilient of Biology. Today we're tackling a concern that affects so many women out there, hair loss. But don't worry, it's not a battle you have to fight alone. There are natural ways to support your hair health and bring back that confidence. Let's dive into this journey together and uncover the secrets. We will discuss the mechanisms of hair loss and everything you need to know to prevent and stop this problem. Hair is not just an aesthetic detail, but an important biological indicator of the overall health of your body. Each hair strand goes through strictly controlled cycles of growth, rest, and loss that are regulated by hormones, nutrients, and cellular energy. Therefore, any change in the quality and density of hair almost always reflects a disorder in some system of the body, whether it is a hormonal imbalance, inflammatory processes, stress, or nutritional deficiency, especially in women going through menopause after the age of 50. The problem becomes even greater due to hormonal changes and a chronic lack of nutrients. Hair loss can be diffuse, where the entire head of hair is thinning, or focal, where small, bald areas appear. The effect on the quality of life women feel is significant, with a decrease in self-confidence. Stress increases, and the problem often becomes a vicious circle because stress further aggravates hair loss. In women, hair also has a deep psychological dimension. This increased hair loss often causes anxiety, depression, and a sense of loss of control over one's own body. And the industries of all these preparations for hair loss and cosmetics know this very well. It is precisely on your ignorance and your despair that they earn hundreds of billions of dollars a year. And we have to stop falling for this. Let me explain how hair grows and regenerates so that you can better understand what hair loss actually is. Each strand of hair originates in a follicle, which is a microscopic organ located in the dermis of the skin. The follicle is alive and extremely metabolically active. It consumes energy, requires oxygen, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and hormonal signals in order to produce keratin, which is the main building protein of the hair. Therefore, hair growth depends on the stable function and health of the follicle and a constant supply of micronutrients. The hair growth cycle consists of three main phases. The first phase is called the antigen phase. This is the active growth phase that lasts 2 to 6 years. Here the follicle continuously produces new hair. The second phase is the catagen phase. This is a transitional period of 2 to 3 weeks in which growth slows down and the follicle shrinks. And the third is the telogen phase, or the resting phase, in which the hair falls off and a new cycle begins. A healthy person has about 85 to 90% of their hair in the antigen phase, while 10 to 15% is resting. When this balance is disturbed by stress, hormonal disorders, and nutritional deficiencies, visible hair thinning occurs, and that is completely clear. Many women wonder how much hair loss is normal and when it should be alarming. The answer lies in understanding the hair growth cycle and the factors that affect the health of the follicles. A healthy person loses about 50 to 100 hairs per day, which is the natural cycle of hair growth. Hair loss in this range is completely normal and should not cause concern, since the normal part of hair loss and new hair growth should be approximately 50 to 100 hairs per day. Anything over that will show up as visible hair thinning. It can be a sign that something in our body is not adequate. Seasonal hair loss is another factor. Many women notice increased shedding, often in the fall or spring. This is the body's reaction to changes in light, temperature, and hormonal rhythms. Although it can be worrying at first glance, it is a temporary thinning of hair that usually stabilizes within a few weeks. Stress and emotional impact are also significant causes. Stress, both physical and emotional, can trigger what is called telogen lovium, a condition in which a large number of follicles enter the resting phase at the same time, resulting in sudden hair loss. This is most often noticed 2 to 3 months after a stressful event or illness, which is very important to understand. One of the things that is not always recognized is hormonal disorders. These can occur during pregnancy, which is completely understandable, or during or after menopause when women lose their hair much more often. One of the main reasons why women lose their hair is thyroid problems. When hair falls out in patches or gradually thins out all over the head, it may be alopecia areata or other autoimmune and metabolic disorders. Alopecia areata is when the immune system attacks the hair follicles, causing focal bald patches. Telogen effluvium is often caused by chronic illness, medication, and extreme physical stress. One of the main reasons that many people don't realize is causing hair loss is a chronic lack of essential minerals and vitamins. This is most often due to an extremely poor diet over many years. We eat highly processed food and think it's completely okay to consume this food that doesn't have a single mineral, vitamin, or nutrient. We don't think it's bad for us at all because we all eat fast food and everything we buy in stores seems fine. Then one day we have problems with hair loss. A chronic lack of minerals and vitamins due to very poor diet is especially problematic for women who are over 50 years old. When you add to this the ingestion of heavy medications for blood pressure, for diabetes, for digestion, for poor immunity, and when you take a handful of other drugs combined with a very poor diet, this can lead to even worse problems with the hair itself. The hair care industry knows exactly where the limits of women's patience are. Every woman, when her hair begins to thin, will do almost anything to stop the process. They will change their diet, buy new shampoo, ampoules, oils, and serums. It is precisely this emotion, the fear of losing beauty and femininity, that builds a multi-billion-dollar business. Worldwide, more than $90 billion are spent annually on hair restoration and thickening products. Advertisements promise quick results, shiny hair, and a visible reduction in shedding. But what they don't tell you is that most of these products are formulated to give you a temporary visual effect. What everyone always falls for are all of these clever, beautiful advertisements of famous people, and they play on your emotions. The more you are under emotional stress, the more likely you are to buy products that you will just throw money away for. When you look at the label of a typical shampoo against hair loss, you will see long names that are difficult to pronounce, such as sodium lauryl sulfate, curcuma propylene, perfume derivatives, silicones, or parabens. These things are not there to cure. They create a temporary illusion of health. Sulfates are aggressive detergents that wash away the natural oils of the hair and destroy the lipid layer. Even though after washing the hair seems clean and light, the follicle remains irritated and weaker. Silicones coat the hair with a thin layer of plastic, giving it shine and density. However, over time, this layer prevents it from breathing and absorbing nutrients, which leads to brittliness and frizz. Parabens and formaldehydes are preservatives. They prevent the product from spoiling, and at the same time they can cause hormonal disorders and skin irritation. Synthetic fragrances and dyes often cause allergic reactions and disrupt the microbiome of the scalp. The results are that at first the hair looks shinier and thicker, but in the long run it becomes dry, brittle, and sensitive. The follicle that should be surrounded by a natural protective layer of sebum remains exposed to chemical irritants. These are all the same chemicals that are being sold to you regardless of whether they cost a little or hundreds of dollars. If any of these shampoos or ampoules truly worked, then no one would lose their hair and no one would have problems with their hair. You might have the impression in a short period of time that things are better, but you have to understand that the health of your hair will primarily be treated from the inside and not with a lot of chemicals. One of the most